Hello, and welcome to Blackboard Collaborate. This is a wonderful software that allows you to attend meetings and classes from virtually anywhere. In this tutorial video, you'll learn how to do lots of different things in Blackboard. We'll start with the basics on how to log in and how to get to your classroom. From there, we'll go on to talk about the audio setup wizard, how you can set up your microphone and your speakers to work best for you in the classroom. We'll look at the whiteboard, which is what I'm writing on right now, and how you can write and share with your classmates. We'll talk about the chat box and how you can type to and share information in the chat with your professor and your classmates as well. We'll learn about the participant window, which allows you to see other people sharing their emotions, raising their hands, polling, lots of different things we can do in the participant window. We'll also talk about file sharing, which allows you or your professor or your classmates to upload a file into the classroom to share with other people. And we'll wrap things up by looking at how we can go back and review a prior class if our instructor recorded it. So sit back and enjoy. Hello, and welcome to the Audio Setup Wizard tutorial. The Audio Setup Wizard is actually a great tool to help us get our microphone and our headset or speakers working the way we want them to. There's a couple of different ways to access the Setup Wizard. There's a cute little button right up here. Looks like a microphone with a little star on it. If you click on there, that'll take you to the Setup Wizard. We can also go to the Tools menu, to Audio, and choose the Audio Setup Wizard. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. That's where we'll go now. The first part of the Audio Setup Wizard will have us set up our speakers. So make sure you pick your speakers or your microphone out of the list that appears here and click OK. Once you do that, it'll have a little blurb that'll play for you once you hit the play button here in the middle of the screen. While it does that, use this little adjustment knob in the center of the screen here to adjust your speaker volume up and down until you find the level that's comfortable for you.
Welcome to the Audio Setup Wizard. This wizard will help you set the optimum levels for both your microphone and speakers. Please follow the instructions carefully.
Once you're done and you have things set up the way you want to, click Stop and the audio will stop. If things worked well and you have it set the way you want to, simply click Yes. If it didn't work and you didn't get it set the way you want to, click No, and it'll take you back to where you started. It'll give you a chance to try again. I'm going to hit Yes so that we go on to the next step. The next step is our microphone. Here you can see my microphone listed in the list. I just have one, so I'll click on that one and hit OK. This step asks me to do a sample recording, and we'll see if it can be heard appropriately. I'm going to click on Single Talker here since it's just me and the one microphone. And again, once I hit record here, I'm not going to do any adjustments with my slider button just yet. I'm simply going to hit record, and then we'll talk a little bit. You have to speak after you hit record, so simply say something like, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3, hi, my name is Samantha, how are you? Simply say a couple of sentences so you have something to work with. So I'm going to hit record. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. And then I hit the stop button. If you noticed while I was talking, the computer manually started taking down that button all by itself. So it starts adjusting my volume for my, not for my speaker, for my microphone for me. So now that I've done a sample, let's hit play and listen to it and make sure that you can be heard in the recording. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. If you can hear yourself clearly in the recording, then your microphone is set up the way it needs to be and you're good to go. If you can't, click No here and go back to do it again. You'll want to slide that slider button, let's go back and look at it, further to the right to make your microphone more sensitive, which will pick you up more clearly and make your speech louder. Or if you're coming through screaming in the microphone and you want to make it quieter, you move that slider bar to the left, which makes your microphone less sensitive and they won't hear you as loudly. Okay, and we're back to where we were here at the end, assuming that we got everything the way we wanted it to. When we hit our playback, it was loud, it was clear, it was the volume we wanted. Now we simply hit Yes, and it says audio setup is complete, so we would click OK. Hopefully this has addressed your microphone and headset or speaker issues. Your audio setup is complete. Hello, and welcome to a tutorial on how to use the chat feature in Blackboard Collaborate. This is again another one of the fun tools that we can use in Blackboard to communicate with our classmates, other students, our professor, you name it. The chat box is located down here in the left-hand corner of the screen. It's called Chat. The first thing to notice here is it says supervised. This means that the moderator holding the meeting has turned a setting on that means that they can see all messages that go back and forth in the classroom. So don't think that you can send a message to a classmate or something that the professor or others can't see. So that means that they're supervising, they're seeing the things that go on in the chat box. Let's start by simply typing a message. It's fairly straightforward. We simply click in the little white box down here. We type in our message. Hello, my name is Samantha. And hit enter. And there, my message has appeared for everybody to see. If we want to dress up our message a bit, we can click on the little smiley face drop-down button here. And we have all kinds of different little clip art emoticons that we can put in with our message. We can wink, we can be angry, confused, sad, and all kinds of little pictures, raining, sunny, rainbows, you name it. So I'm just going to put a simple little smiley face in there and hit enter. Then you'll see here in my chat box my little smiley face and my text has appeared for everybody to see. That's about as complicated as a chat box gets. If you want to change the appearance, make this a little bit easier or more conducive to where you want to see it, we can grab this chat box and move it where we want to. We can change the size. So let's say we're having a hard time reading it because the text is too small. Click on our little options box here and we can increase the font size to make it better. I'm sorry, make it bigger. Bigger is always better. So now things are getting a little bit crammed in there. I can also grab the corner of my box here, see when I get my arrows, and I can make that bigger. So if I have a conversation going and I want to be able to read long paragraphs of information, I can move my chat box out here and make it bigger so that I can read everything in there. Now, let's say I don't want to have my chat box here main screen anymore. I can open my options manual here and say attach panel. Now what that did was take it from out here in the middle of the screen and attach it back where it came from. So you'll see now it's down here again in the corner where I left it. And again, now that it's back down there, I'm just going to go in here and decrease the font size. So things make sense here in my little corner again. You certainly don't have to, but you could increase and decrease your font size anytime you want to. And that's about all the extent of our excitement here in the chat box. Lots of different options and a good way to communicate with your classmates and your instructor. Hello, and welcome to a tutorial on how to use the participant window in Blackboard Collaborate. The participant window is over here on the left-hand side. Make it dance around a little bit here so you can see it. That's our participant window. Some great options here. First of all, you'll notice, since I'm the only one in the room, I'm the only one listed, but you'll see yourself listed here in the room along with anyone else who's in the Blackboard Collaborate room with you. Also called the classroom with you. So you'll see your classmates listed, your instructors listed. Your settings window here, like we used in our chat window before, our settings window allows us to show our permissions. So if you want to know what rights you have or what things you can do within the classroom, click that drop down and say show my permissions. And a whole bunch of little icons pop up here. This will tell you what you can and cannot do in the classroom. A little picture of a microphone means that you have audio permission. In other words, you're allowed to speak. In some classrooms or some big meetings, sometimes they'll actually turn that off so they can have silence when they have a presenter. The next one is a webcam. So if you have a webcam with your computer, you can turn that on and display it in the classroom. Chat permissions. So you do have the rights to log into the chat box there and discuss things with your professor and your classmates. The little pencil means that we have the right to work on the whiteboard. So if that was X'd out like the next two, that would mean that we couldn't do that. Sometimes instructors will take away that permission when they're presenting as well, so students don't accidentally move things around on the whiteboard or write on their presentation when they're not invited to do so. The next one next couple actually have X's on them. That means they're things that we're not allowed to do. For example, here we have a picture of the World Wide Web with an X on it. There is a feature in Blackboard that allows us to go on a web tour with others in our group. Not a feature I'll explain here, but the X there simply means that we don't have the permission to do that right now. And application sharing means that we could share an application such as Word or Excel, something running on our desktop, we could share with the class and have it pop up here on the whiteboard. And again, that feature's X'd out. That means that we don't have the right to do that right now. Some other fun things that we can do in the participant window. The first one here, we can kind of tell our classmates and our instructor how we're feeling right now. So I could say, oh, I'm happy. So look at me here in the main room. Shows a smiley face. If I need my instructor to go slower or faster, say they're covering things too thoroughly, I can ask them to slow down or speed up. And let's see, we can clap, confusion, approval, disapproval. So lots of different things that we can do here to give people an idea of how we're feeling or how things are going without actually raising our hand or speaking to interrupt our instructor. The next button has a little picture of a person and a clock here. We click on that if we're going to be away from our computer. This tells our instructor and our classmates that, hey, I'm not sitting at my computer right now. I had to use the restroom. I had to answer the front door, whatever it might be. So they won't call on us and wonder why there's silence at the other end of the line. When you get back to your computer, all you have to do is click on it again, and it shows that you're back in the classroom. The hand button here is quite handy, pun intended. Think of it just like being in a classroom and you want to raise your hand. A lot of times we have lots of people that have questions, or an instructor is in the middle of explaining something and you want to ask a question but not just blurt something right out in the middle of their explanation. So you might raise your hand. In other words, you're asking for permission to speak. All you have to do is click that button to raise your hand. A lot of times your instructor, after they address your question and let you speak, will put your hand down for you. Sometimes they don't, so all you have to do to put your hand back down is just click the button again. And last but not least, a fun feature. Some instructors use it, some don't. They might ask you a question. They'll send out a poll, and they'll ask you to say yes or no. Have you ever heard of so-and-so, or have you ever experienced this in the workplace before? You can vote yes or no with your check marks here. And of course, when the polling is done, a lot of times they'll clear the poll so these go away, or you can simply click on here yourself and go none, and that clears the poll out from your window. The participant window, just like the chat window, we can move around, so I can grab it and move it if I want to. If I want to make it bigger because I can't see all my classmates' names, I can expand it and shrink it to fit my needs. And if I'm done with it, I want to put it back where it came from. I'll click my little settings box here and say Attach Panel. And it puts it back where I got it. That wraps up the participant window tutorial. Hello, and welcome to a tutorial on how to use the whiteboard in Blackboard Collaborate. This is actually one of the more fun options that we have to play with in Blackboard Collaborate. So let's look at the toolbox that we have here. Hopefully you can see my little cursor dancing around the screen here. On the left-hand side of the whiteboard, we have a toolbar. We have lots of different tools to pick from here. Right now, I'm using the top one on the button. It's a picture of a pointer. That simply gives me a pointer on the white screen, so I can select things or click on things. For example, I'm going to click on the title here, Blackboard Collaborate. I've selected it, and now I can move it around. Let's put that back. The next item in the list gives us the ability to point things out using various shapes. We've got a little star, fingers, we want to point at something, a pointer, a red X, and a smiley face. So let's say I've put something on the screen and one of my students likes it or they agree with it, and they want to put a smiley face next to it. This little smiley face icon will allow us to do that. If I click on there again, let's say I don't like something or it's not the answer I was looking for, I can put a red X on there. And that moves every time I click my mouse. The next one down is one of the most useful tools here. This is our pen and or highlighter. I've clicked on here. The solid little pencil crayon looking shape here is our pen. If I click on the other one, it's a highlighter. So I'm going to start with a pen here. You see I have another little box down here. I can use this to decide how big I want my pen stroke to be. Very, very wide or very, very small. And We can choose a color by clicking on that color box there. We have a wide range of colors to choose from. Let's say I'd like to draw in green, so I'm going to click on green, and then I'm going to go draw on my whiteboard. If I click on the pen shape again and this time click on the highlighter, see now it's changed. Stroke size 10, so wider, much like that of a highlighter, and it's in yellow. So I'm just going to go down here and highlight Buena Vista University. And that's our pen and highlighter. The next one down is again a very useful tool that we end up using in the classroom a lot, and that's our text. We click on the little A and come out here into our whiteboard where we'd like to type something. We now have a little text box there, and I will say, hello, oops, I can't type. My name is Samantha. And hit enter. And there's my text. This will appear to everyone in the classroom. They can all see your text. A couple more options here. For drawing, the dark square here, we can draw a square or a circle. Let's start with a square. That simply means it's going to color in the square. So there's a black one. If I want to change the color here, I simply click on the color box again. Let's make a pink square this time. I go to the whiteboard and just click and drag your mouse, and there's a pink square. If we click on there again, we have the circle option, which will of course do the same thing, only in a circle form instead of a square. The next one down will do the same thing, only hollow. So it won't fill it in. So here's an example. There's my hollow circle. And again, I can change the color if I want to. Let's draw a red circle. I'll go up here and circle the word tutorial for you. So that's our filled in and hollow circle and square options. We can also draw straight lines. That's the next one down, the little diagonal line here. So I'm just going to go to the whiteboard, click and hold, and I end up with a straight line. Wherever my mouse is when I release my mouse button is where that line stops. And again, you can do that in different colors. So if I click on the color button here and I want to go draw a red line, let's say I wanted to underline the word whiteboard. You can draw a red line there. The next one down is a screen capture. This one's kind of fun. Every once in a while, if you're working with classmates or an instructor and they want to see something on your screen, or you have an error message or something that you can't figure out and you want to share it with them, we could use screen capture. So I'm going to click on that button, and it takes me to the screen that I was using. See this ghost box here, so to speak? It's kind of making my screen bounce around. Well, this big square is what it's going to capture. So I'll put that where I want it, and I'll go to the OK button in the center. That means I'm ready for it to take its picture, so to speak. So I'll hit OK. And now when I come back to my whiteboard, you'll see I have my screen that I'm able to paste right there on the whiteboard for people to see. One last nifty little feature here of the whiteboard. Maybe your eyes aren't what they used to be, or your instructor's aren't, and she puts things on the screen too big. In the top left-hand corner here, you can change the size of your whiteboard. Say we want to see it really small because we want to look at something else on our screen. Or they've got tiny print on there and we just can't read it. So we can do 200% or 300%. We can make it bigger to suit our needs. Most of the time you'll just see this at 100%, but if there's something you want to see bigger or smaller, you can. And that wraps up the fun tools that we have to work with on the whiteboard. Hello, and welcome to a tutorial on how to use file sharing in Blackboard Collaborate. To get started, we need to go up to the toolbar and click on Window. At the very bottom, we have the option of Show File Transfer Library. I clicked on that, and again, to find that was simply Window, Show File Transfer Library. So we'll go back to that. I've already loaded a file here, which if you're using this, chances are your instructor has loaded a file out there that they need to give to you. So the goal of going in here is to find that file and save it somewhere that we can use it. So we're likely saving it to like a thumb drive or a jump drive that we have with us, or to the computer that we're working on. We have lots of different options here. If I don't click on any files, so notice I haven't selected anything from the list here, I have just a couple of options up here in my buttons that I can do things with. The first one has a little file or a little book and a plus sign. If I click on that, this will give me the option to select a file from my own computer or my own jump drive and share it with the instructor and the classroom. So this is me giving the classroom a file instead of vice versa. So let's say I wanted to share my PDF error message. For some reason I'm having a problem on my computer. The instructor says, show it to me. So I'm going to send this error message. I select it. There we go. And hit open. So now you'll see in the center of the screen here the PDF error message file I just selected, and it's loading. Oh, and there it just went to complete. So that tells me that everyone else in the classroom, the instructor included, can now see the file that I just put out there for them. So now if we want to get files that are out there, we have two to choose from now. We're going to want to click on the one that we want. So let's say now we're going to download sample for file transfer tutorial. I just put out a Word file to use as a sample here. So I click on that, and you'll notice that the rest of our buttons have lit up now. So we have more options. The center one here that has a picture of a little disk is what we'll use to save that file to our computer or jump drive. So I'm going to click on that. And now, this is one of the most important steps. Make sure you know where you're saving it to. It's not enough to just click save and know that it's on your computer somewhere. We have to know where it's at. So for example, if I want to be able to find it simply and quickly, I'm just going to go to my desktop, leave the name the same, and hit save. That means that the file is now saved with an icon right there on my desktop. If I had a jump drive or something with me, perhaps I would go to computer, and I don't actually have a jump drive in this computer, but it would be listed here. Then click save. The point is, make sure you know where you're saving the file to, because chances are you're going to need to open it up and use it here shortly, or the instructor wouldn't be giving it to you. So make sure you know where you've saved it to. Click save, and you're done. Then you can go to wherever you've saved it to and open that file if you need to. Just a couple other options there. That's the save, which is what we just went through. We could hit delete. In other words, maybe we've already used it and we're done with it. Or let's say we uploaded this PDF error message and we realized that was the wrong file, or we didn't want the whole class to have that. So I can just click the delete button. It asks me, am I sure? And I'll say, okay. Now that file's gone. And that wraps up all the options that we have available to us in file sharing in Blackboard Collaborate. Hello, and welcome to a tutorial on how to find and view previous Blackboard Collaborate recordings. You'll notice this time that we're not actually in the Blackboard Collaborate classroom. We're in the login area. This is where we start the process of logging in. You should be fairly familiar with this screen. Normally we would go through here and find our classroom. Let's say we're in the psychology class, so we would go and click on Psychology 300 to enter the classroom and experience a Blackboard Collaborate class. Well, tonight we're actually going to look for recordings instead of going to a live class. To do that, notice on the top left-hand corner of the screen here, we're looking in sessions right now. What we want to look at is a recording. So let's click on that tab. Now, to find our recording, we can do a couple of different things. If we know the name of it, we can click in the text box here and search for it. Or if we know when the recording was done, we can go to the calendar over here and click on the date. So let's say our class was held yesterday on the 10th, and I want to see the recordings for that date. So I click on the 10th, and up pops all the recordings that were saved into the system on the 10th. Let's again say that we were in the psychology class, perhaps we missed class that day. All we have to do to load and view that recording is click on the psychology link right here. If we missed the same class from last week, I don't know if there was one, but let's look. Nope, different meetings. I just clicked on the 3rd of October instead of the 10th, so I clicked on a different date. So anytime you miss a class and your instructor recorded it, simply go to that date in the calendar, and any recordings that were created that date will show up in the list here. That's all there is to it. Well, we've covered a lot of great information on Blackboard Collaborate and all the tools that you can use when you're in the classroom. We've covered the participant window, which is raising your hand, showing emotions, clapping, polling, All kinds of great things that you can do there. We've covered audio setup and how to adjust your microphone and your audio. We've worked with the chat window, the file sharing window, and my favorite, the whiteboard and drawing pictures and sharing information. So we've covered a lot of great information on how to use Blackboard and the recordings and all the tools inside. So let's wrap things up with where you can find a little bit more information if you have additional questions or problems. Your main source of information is in your help function here. We have several different options. The best resource, in my opinion anyway, is the Blackboard Collaborate Essentials for Participants. If we click on there, it's going to take us to a web page that has step-by-step guides on all the different pieces that we walked through and some additional ones that aren't quite as commonly used. If you look down the left-hand side here, we've got the participant panel, which we talked about, video broadcast, so if you want to do a little more information or work with your webcam, there's information there. The chat, we talked about, the auto features, whiteboard, application sharing, web tours, it's all there. So you can click on where you want to go, what topic you want to look at. Or you can simply go through the bottom here. If you want to go through the entire tutorial, you can click next and go from topic to topic. I'm going to close that up and we'll go back to our help window here. There's online help, which will take you to the Blackboard Collaborate homepage. So you can see customer service representation, some different downloads, PDFs, similar things to the Essentials for Participants, only a little bit more detailed. I think the Essentials for Participants is the easiest to use, but you can certainly get more there from the online help. Keyboard shortcuts. This is kind of a nice little cheat sheet here for you of all the different keyboard shortcuts that you can use when you're working in Collaborate. And, help window. One other thing I'd like to show you in the Essentials for Participants. We'll go back there. If you don't see what you want easily from one of the table of contents areas, there's also a search function here. Go to search. You can go and type in a question and look for information on the question that you have. That wraps up all the fun tools that you have available in Blackboard Collaborate and how you can go find additional help if you have more information. So have fun and enjoy!